Is Suncor a buy or a sell? Let's get started with the model. This is a large cap company, 70 billion market cap. They're trading at 56 Canadian dollars a share, and they have 1.3 billion shares outstanding. Suncor is an integrated energy company. They're active in upstream and downstream. Their downstream business is the 1,500 SU.TO gas stations throughout Canada. In terms of upstream, they explore, develop, and produce bitumen and synthetic crude oil. They are the world's largest producer of bitumen in the world. Bitumen is derived from crude oil. It's mainly used for industrial purposes. Lots of construction companies use bitumen. It's a common ingredient in asphalt. It's also waterproof and has adhesive properties, which makes it great for roofing. SUN is the largest oil company in Canada, the second largest company in Canada behind RBC. They were founded in 1917, headquartered in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Let's look at their financials. The way you value a company is you estimate the free cash flows into the future, and then you discount those numbers back to today's value. That's what we're doing in this video. And free cash flow is cash flow from operations minus capital expenditures. Their free cash flow peaked in 2022 over $10.5 billion. It did drop 39% in 2023 to $6.4 billion. They posted a solid $8.7 billion in the trailing 12 months. And they have pretty good margins. They convert 16% of their revenue into free cash flow. Net income is the profit or loss on the income statement. It's revenue minus expenses. And that went from $4 billion to $9 billion, a jump of 120%. It fell a little in 2023 to $8.3 billion. It fell again a little bit to $8 billion in the trailing 12 months. And they have decent margins, 15%. That means they convert 15% of their revenue into net income. Revenue is a sales for the company, and that grew nicely from $39 billion to $63 billion. But then it came down 17% to $52 billion, up a little bit, up to $55 billion in the trailing 12 months. Their revenue and profits are highly correlated to the price of oil. If oil goes up a lot in price, so should their revenue and stock price, and vice versa. They pay a nice dividend, 4.1%, and they can cover that dividend 3.1 times with their free cash flow because it cost them $2.9 billion to pay that dividend, and they generate $8.7 billion of free cash flow. We estimated 4 years of future free cash flows. We also estimated a terminal value, which is all cash flows, past year 4, that's $116 billion. We discounted those numbers back to today using the weighted average cost of capital. We get a value of the company of 104 billion Canadian dollars. We divide that by 1.3 billion shares. And we get a calculated stock price of $83. They're trading at $56, so they're trading at a 33% discount. It's a screaming buy according to the model. What do you think? Do you think it's a buy or sell? Let me know in the comments. There are 11 companies in the same industry as SUN, and if they have a number in red, they're worse than the median. If they have a number in blue, they're better. All the numbers on this chart are in US dollars. Even though the company reports in Canadian dollars, I put it in US dollars since we're comparing all stocks that trade in the US. They don't spend nearly as much in CapEx as the other companies. Look at Exxon, 24 billion. Chevron, 16 billion. Total Energies, the French company, 12 billion. BP, the British company, 16 billion. Their debt to equity ratio is equal to the median, 0.3. That means for every dollar of equity, 20 cents of debt. All the big companies pay a dividend. They pay 4.1%. BP is the biggest at 6.2%. Total Energy is also pretty high at 5.8%. Cenovus, 4.8%. They generate a lot of free cash flow, 6.2 billion. Exxon's the most, 33 billion. They rank 5th in market cap, far behind the top 3. Their price to book is equal to the median. That means they're trading at 1.5 times book value. They're trading at better than 9 times earnings, which is a really attractive ratio. The best is Total Energy, 7. Price to free cash flow also looks really good at 8. That's stock price over free cash flow per share. Price to sales is 1.3, a little worse than the median average. They generate a lot of revenue, 39 billion, pretty similar to Imperial Oil. Their 5-year annual revenue growth rate is 6%. Cenovus is number 1 at 22%. Cenovus is also located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. There's a lot of oil in that part of the world. They're currently trading at 40 US dollars. This is Canadian dollars. So they're trading pretty close to their 52-week high. If you put $10,000 into this company 10 years ago and reinvested the dividends, you'd have $17,000 today. That's a 74% return, a 6% annual return. So to summarize, I have them trading at a 33% discount. I think it's a solid company. Oil is a really important part of our day-to-day lives, so I give them a ranking of 8 out of 10. Would I buy it short term? 8 out of 10. Definitely long term, 10 out of 10. I think it's a great stock to hold in your portfolio, especially if you're Canadian. Really attractive ratios, great price to free cash flow and PE, so that's 8 out of 10. And financials look really good as well, 8 out of 10. Free cash flow up 21% since 2021. Revenue up 40% since 2021. Let's take a look at their third quarter results. A whopping $3.8 billion from adjusted FFO. Funds from operations is net income plus depreciation and amortization minus the gain on the sale of real estate. And $2.2 billion in free cash flow. They call it free funds flow. They returned $1.5 billion to shareholders, $800 million in stock buybacks, $700 million in dividends. They refined 488,000 barrels per day. Utilization over 100%, 105%. Their net profit for the quarter, $2 billion. Last year, it was $1.5 billion. Last quarter, $1.6 billion. Just to clarify, all numbers on these slides are in Canadian dollars, not US dollars. Their EPS, earnings per share, $1.59. The way you calculate that, you take their earnings, $2 billion, over shares outstanding. Operating income, $1.9 billion. Operating income per share, $1.48. It was higher last year, $1.52. Adjusted FFO, $3.8 billion. Adjusted FFO per share, $3. Operating cash flow, $4.3 billion. Operating cash flow is net income converted to cash. So you take your net income and you add back the non-cash items like depreciation. CFO per share is $3.36. That's higher than last quarter and last year. They always spend a lot on CapEx, $1.5 billion. Free cash flow, $2.2 billion. A lot higher than last quarter, a lot higher than last year. Dividends per share, 55 cents, same as last quarter. Share buybacks per share, 62 cents. The way you calculate that, you take the money they bought in stock buybacks divided by the shares outstanding. They returned $1.5 billion to shareholders. Last quarter, same thing, $1.5 billion. Last year was $1 billion. Upstream production, 828 million barrels per day. A lot higher than last quarter and last year. 105% utilization rate. That's amazing that it's above 100%. Their total oil sands bitumen production, 909 million, up a lot from last quarter, 830 million. Last year, 787 million. SU.TO, synthetic crude oil and diesel production, 540 million barrels per day. Also up a lot. Refinery crude oil process, 487 million. Last year was 463 million. The reason bitumen increased was due to the company's increased working interest in Fort Hills. Fort Hills is in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and this company spent $17 billion to build that location, and I think it's paying off. They're extracting a lot of product from there. They reduced their debt $1.4 billion this quarter. They repaid $331 million in debt, and they executed a debt tender offer and repaid $1.1 billion. Their net debt target is $8 billion. Net debt is total debt minus cash. And they increased their dividend 5%. It's up to 57 cents per share. Here's a breakdown of their earnings. $1.8 billion is from oil sands, exploration and production $270 million, refining and marketing about $500 million. Oil sands is up a lot from last year, $1.4 billion to $1.8 billion. Exploration and production is also up, but refining and marketing is down. It looks like expenses got higher in this part of the business. Here's the production volume. Oil sands upgraded, net synthetic crude oil and diesel, 514 million barrels. That's just for the third quarter. Oil sands non-upgraded bitumen, 260 million barrels. Total oil sands, 776 million barrels. Exploration and production, 53 million. Upstream is 828 million. That's the sum of these two numbers. Here's a breakdown of their operating, selling, and general expenses. $2.6 billion of operations costs, $358 million from purchasing the commodities, and $76 million giving back to the employees in stock-based compensation. Total of a little under $3.1 billion. Last year was a little over $3.1 billion. A lot more stock-based compensation last year. It was more than triple this quarter. A lot of the company's revenue and profits is dependent on the price of the underlying commodity. You could see West Texas Intermediate crude oil, $75 a barrel. It was $82 last year. Dated Brent crude is also down. It was 87, now it's 80. And you can see it's a pretty long list of different commodity prices. Some are actually up from last year. Look at Alberta power pool price. It was 151, now it's 55. Portland 211 crack, 56 down to 20. When it says crack, that's the difference between a barrel of crude oil and the petroleum products that are refined from that barrel. Because you could sell an entire barrel of crude oil, or you could break apart the barrel into its various component products, including gases like propane, heating fuel, or jet fuel, or diesel fuel, etc. Here's the exchange rate. 1 Canadian dollar equals 73 US cents. Last year, 1 Canadian dollar equals 75 US cents. Here's a look of the last 8 quarters. So net earnings was highest in the fourth quarter of 2023, 2.8 billion. It was 2.7 billion in the fourth quarter of 2022. It's currently 2 billion. Free cash flow was the highest in the fourth quarter of 2022, 2.9 billion. Now it's 2.2 billion. It was second highest in the fourth quarter of 2023, 2.5 billion. And their net debt is lower than ever, under 8 billion. It was over 12 billion in the first quarter of 2023. Dividends per share have been 55 cents the last 4 quarters. Before that, 52 cents. The stock price on the TSX is 50. It was as low as 39. If you picked it up below 40, you're probably doing great. Here's the price of crude the last 8 quarters. It was lowest in mid-2023, 74. Highest at the end of 2022, 83. Here's their balance sheet. Total assets, 91 billion Canadian dollars. Their biggest asset is PP&E, 68 billion. They have lots of infrastructure. In their liability section, they have 11 billion of long-term debt, 12 billion of provisions. Provisions are funds set aside to fund future losses. Assets minus liabilities equals equity, 45 billion of equity. That's up from 43 billion last year. Let's look at Simply Wall Street. Last price 56, 70 billion market cap, down 3% in the past week, up 24% in the past year. It looks like the stock started trading in 1993 at 170 a share. Oil prices got real high in 2008, so did this stock price, 71. That was its peak. Then by 2009, oil prices crashed down to 21. Then it broke through 50 in 2018. You guessed it, oil prices were high in 2018. COVID brought it down to below 20, falling to about 15 or 16 by the end of 2020. A great time to pick up the stock. Now it's trading close to 60. So the stock is about 55 today. Say you bought it for 55 20 years ago. You wouldn't be flat. You would be getting a 5% dividend a year. But if you picked it up for 20 and the current yield is 4%, your yield is like close to 10%. Because everybody has a different yield. Because if you picked out any 2 owners of this stock, they probably bought it at different times. And they're both receiving the same dividend today. So if one person bought it for 20, another for 60, the person who bought it for 20 has a much higher yield. And can you imagine buying it for 5 or 6? Every couple of years, you're getting your cost basis back. Simply Wall Street's valuation is 93. They also say it's really undervalued, 41%. 21 analysts price this stock at 62. They also say it's undervalued. Here's their revenue since 2013. It was 40 billion. It didn't do that well over the next several years. By 2021, it was still 40 billion. And it did drop to 24 billion in 2020, 25 billion in 2016. But then it shot up, close to 60 billion by the end of 2022. Now it's come back down to 51 billion, still a lot higher than pre-COVID levels. They pay their next dividend on 12/23, ex-dividend date 12/2. Their yield in 2014 was 3%. Its highest was 7.5% in 2020 when the stock came down. The forecast is 4.3% by 2026. Here's their quarterly dividend payment. It was 28 cents in 2014. It got up to 46 cents in 2020. Then they cut it down to 21 cents, and it was 21 cents for several quarters. Then at the end of 2021, they brought it back to 42 cents. And they've been growing it since then. Now it's 54 cents. The CEO's salary is 970,000 Canadian dollars. Total compensation, 37 million tenure as CEO, 1.6 years. In the past year, only insider buying, no selling. About 20,000 shares were purchased by insiders. 71% of the company is owned by institutions, 29% by the general public. The Florida hedge fund, Sanders Capital, is the biggest shareholder at 4.6%, then Vanguard, Elliott, the New York fund, owns 4.19%. Royal Bank of Canada. You should see some Canadian banks here. TD, Toronto Dominion. Bank of Montreal, RBC again. Another Canadian bank, CIBC, 1.1%. Fidelity, Dimensional Fund. Butyl Goodman, a Canadian investment manager, 0.78%. And their employee count was 14,000. Now it's 15,000. Its peak was 17,000. And the ticker trades on the New York Stock Exchange, Deutsche Börse, Toronto Stock Exchange, and Mexican Bolsa. If you want a free DCF model, click on the video in the top right corner. I show you how to find the free cash flow, discount it back to today's dollars, so you can value a stock just like me.